Well, first off, let me just objectively, defensively, I know that you want to talk about defense. So, went into the spring, wanted to make sure that our emphasis was fast, intelligent, and tough. And I know that that's Coach Elliott's mission here for what he wants his football team to look like. It's the same thing we want our defense to look like. And so every day as we evaluated our talent and also our schematics, we objectively look at it. Are we playing fast? Are our guys situationally aware, playing intelligent? And then the toughness you got to display to be part of this game. And frankly, in spring practice, to be part of practice day in and day out, as it's been super physical. I think guys have competed at a really high level, and excited about all the progress that we've made.
That's great. I guess we'll go from there to what we don't want to talk about, which is injury report. We did see Ben Smiley on some crutches today. So what exactly happened there?
Yeah, at the scrimmage, we ended up losing Ben. I think he'll be out short term. Nothing that should prevent him from being able to get to the next training cycle.
Hey, John, it's Mike from Richmond. Good morning.
Hey, Mike.
I wanted to ask you first, big picture, the way things went defensively, and then I know injuries just kind of derailed you at all three levels. How did that change the way you approach the offseason, motivate you? How do you respond to a tough year like that?
Yeah, I think it's a ton of humility of always looking at it as a learning opportunity, and I know that it's always easier to learn it after a win, but at the same time, when we look at last season, the lessons as far as that we will take from that year, will kind of propel us into spring practice, and also serve as great motivation for the work that we do as a staff, and I know for our players as well.
You obviously were dealt some kind of ridiculous hands there with the injuries. How would you evaluate the way you guys responded, adjusted to, and I know they kept coming, but Butler and Clary and Ahern being in and out. How do you guys think you handled as a staff adjusting to all those curveballs?
Yeah, I think it's, I think we did, looked to put all the pieces into position. I know it's the same thing, because defensive players end up having a lot of contribution on special teams as well. But I look at last year, and what we did is just try to put our best foot forward. And I know that those guys, when we went out and they competed, we put ourselves in an opportunity to play competitively. I think as we look at it too, we're always looking for areas that we can be better.
And last thing for me is, with fingers crossed and knocking on wood, as you look at your first 11, as you see it right now, your first team defense, how good do you feel about that group, assuming that they're together on the field?
Oh, I'm fired up. I mean, we got a ton of experience. We got a ton of college football snaps collectively, and frankly, it starts with our front seven. You've got to be really, really good up front. We've talked about it all spring long as our front seven, they've got to earn the right to rush the passer, and which starts with us being great against the run, and that'll end up translating for us to play really good defense.
Good stuff. Thanks, John.
Yes, Mike.
Hi, Coach. How's it going?
Good, Jack.
And you're talking about snaps and experience. A lot of those guys were young last year. A lot of these were freshmen getting those snaps last year. How much have you seen those guys grow and coming into the spring, just knowing the expectations and knowing what you guys want them to do?
We had 1,400 snaps that true freshmen played last season, which, I think my coaching career, that's the most I've seen for a defensive unit, which really, really excited as far as the growth opportunity for those guys. Now, experience ends up being a great catalyst for guys understanding what the preparation looks like on a game week. Also, they have a better understanding as far as how fast, how aggressive the game is, and I hope that those snaps end up translating for us continuing to have great training cycles.
And with a guy like Jason Hammond, he was one of the guys that got significant reps, and also Mekhi Buchanan. What have you seen from those two guys up front?
Yeah, tremendous growth. You just look at our strength staff. Coach Smotherman and his staff have done a great job. I look at Enzo Rinaldo. I mean, nutritionally, their bodies look different. That when they walked in here less than a year ago, and I think it's going to be exciting to see the things they'll accomplish here this fall.
And I think the one guy I think almost everyone has talked about is Corey Thomas. He's been really getting a lot of hype because of his versatility. what have you seen from his spring, and what drew him to you when you were looking at the portal?
Yeah, we're looking for guys that have played a ton of football, that have great football IQ, and love the game, and he matches all three of those. And we're blessed that he's a 6'4", 215-pound safety, linebacker. Goodness, he could rush the passer for us. So there's a lot of different things that he could do schematically. And what's great about him is he loves to work. And you see it as far as his preparation for meetings, his preparation in the weight room, what he's doing nutritionally, and then also his recovery. And so, he really treats the game like we'd want all players to. And so he's been a great addition to our meeting rooms and then also on the field.
Final question for me is about the secondary. You guys really reinforced that, bringing a lot of DBs in there. How happy are you? I know there's some guys injured, but how happy are you at the depth right there? And anyone really kind of stand out there right now?
Yeah, I think collectively, really good group. It starts with, the great experiences that we have. It starts with the guys, number one, that have played a bunch of football already for us. You look at Caleb Hardy played as a freshman. You look at Jonas Sanker. You look at Clary. Keandre Walker coming back. At the same time, to be able to have Jam Jackson, who's played a ton of college football, to augment that corner room. I looked at Kempton Shine, has done a really, really nice job in the spring, and then we've already touched on Corey as far as the versatility that he brings. So, a ton of football experience, and now what we have to do is we've got to capitalize with a few more days of practice in a spring game, and then for our guys to really be focused as we move into the off season.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, John, how many of those secondary guys are you cross-training between corner, safety? How many guys can do a couple of different things for you?
Greg, they have to do them all. And that's what we've tried to do. And I know Chrome gets frustrated at me because he says, you know what, Red, like we should be able to go left and right. We should be able to line these guys up everywhere. And frankly, that's what we want to do. We want to have a ton of versatility with what guys can play. And as a football player, what you want to do is you want to have a better breadth of what is happening schematically. That allows you to play really, really fast.
Can you do that because you have older players, or would you do it if you were young like you were last year? Is it a luxury when you have Clary and Sanker and Corey Thomas, who played a lot of football?
Yeah, and I think we've seen young guys infused. I think you look at a guy like Ethan Minter, from Richmond, that came in as a true freshman that really played quarterback, been a student of the game, came in and it was important to, and he had an opportunity today to run with the ones a little bit. And so you just, if you're willing to be a great learner, if you're willing to put the work in, there's no telling what you can accomplish.
Gotcha. And then just one on the pass rush.
Yep.
Talking to Cam and some of the other guys up front, I know it's been an emphasis for them this spring. Do you have a reason why you guys didn't get to the quarterback as much last year as you did the year before, other than maybe injury? What do you kind of chalk it up to?
Yeah, I think like we've been emphasizing is we got to do a great job versus the run, and what that does is that translates to your ability to be able to rush the passer. And so, like I mentioned earlier, you earn that right to rush the passer. And if we're not great first against the run, it's tough to think that you can pin your ears back and go after that quarterback. But I know our guys have, just the work, the drill work, and then the fundamentals that we've been working will put us in a good position to go win with 4-man pass rush and, shoot if it needs to be 3-man or 6-man or whatever it needs to be. We got to find a way to impact that quarterback.
Thanks.
Hey, Red, I know at Air Force you had a lot of veteran defenses. Would you have imagined you had guys in their 6th, 7th years of college football coming back and play for you?
I don't think any of us can imagine that you would say that. These are like PhD level football players that have already. I mean, it's amazing to be coaching guys that not only have a undergrad but then are have master's degree here from UVA. So it's a neat dynamic. It's something that we'll see as a little fleeting with regards to the COVID era that we're in. And then also what you continue to see more of is guys playing earlier. You see a lot more freshmen playing, so there'll be even fewer red shirts. But I think we're kind of on the back end now of our COVID exception, which is very unique. But no, it is a unique time in college football, that's for sure.
What's the motivation like for a defense like this with so many veteran guys that are in their last year?
Yeah, I think you see it in the drill work. You see it in the weight room of the way guys compete. And I think that's what it comes down to is competition, and then just will to win. And I think it makes everyone better in that locker room when both sides are competing hard against each other. And then the second piece is it's really, really good to see our guys day in and day out go compete, and excited to see what we can accomplish.
Coach David Teal with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. You mentioned earlier the 1,400 snaps for true freshmen on defense. I imagine Cam Robinson had a large chunk of those. How much better is he?
Cam didn't know what he didn't know as a true freshman, as this case for all of us. So he's just continued. I mean, he's changed his body in a good way, and he's also just as far as mentally within the defensive schematics has really broadened his perspective, which really should serve him well as he continues to grow as a young man and as a football player.
And what about Cam Butler? Does he look like the Cam Butler of 2022?
Yeah, he looks better than that. I tell you, he's more. I tell you what, he's bigger. I mean, as far as just girth-wise, and the power that he plays with, and how active he is another guy that gives us a ton of versatility as far as spots that he can play.
Hey, John, if I could sneak in another. At the cornerback position, you guys have had a little bit of a revolving door there. You've tried to address it through the portal. How much would you prefer kind of the Dre Walker model of getting guys in young and developing them yourselves? And do you feel stuck a little bit that you're kind of in the portal each year at corner trying to get to that point, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's about identifying talent, as far as the process that we look at. We got to recruit, we got to retain, and you ultimately have to develop when you look at any room, be it corners, inside linebackers, just defensively, holistically. And so I do believe that there's a ton of great high school prospects that are out there. I also know in this era too is that there's a need for us to go find the best available player. And I think you have to have the flexibility as a recruiter, and frankly, as you develop talent, to go identify where your needs are, and frankly, to go find guys that appropriately match that need.
And is there a difference on the defensive side of the ball in terms of a position that's not that any of it's easy, but for a transfer, particularly a grad transfer, a one-year guy to step in and play right away? Is it easier at corner? Is it easier closer in the D-line? Have you seen anything there?
If you're talented, you end up playing a ton of football. So I really believe that it doesn't matter positionally with regards to is there a position that's easier to come into in the defense?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.